Okay.
What do they call them?
It's a bush pin.
Frederick.
It lands on the water.
So how do we?
Okay, I'm just gonna,
Yeah.
I think I'm,
Is it available? I would get it.
I just wanna,
That sounds incredible.
so if you just, behind it is this,
Well, we should be around at some point.
because this has got a delay. Okay,
Okay,
so-
Yeah.
For some more.
something is crooked.
I'm leaving
Okay.
Sunday first thing.
There.
I'm leaving at 10 a.m. on Sunday.
Okay, so I think we're good. I'll just, do a
Some
quick.
film screening.
Let's go.
Let's go and play the shit in
Hi, everybody, and welcome to our third masterclass for this 12th annual Bay Street Film Festival. And I just want to mention that these masterclasses are supported by the Canada Council for the Arts. We've got a nice bursary, so we're able to help with some transportation costs and some speakers' fees. So just want to say thank you for that, and also thanks so much for agreeing to come and do this master class. This is Frederick Kroetsch. Did I say that right? And just wonderful to be able to have filmmakers who are coming and presenting their films also be able to share a little bit more of the nitty gritty of how they get their films made, and really glad that you're all here too, and we have some also filmmakers in the audience too, which is also a really cool thing. And just remind everybody that we've got more master classes tomorrow morning. There's an early one at 10:30 in the morning. So after the shag tonight, we might be a little bit bagged, but we'll make sure we all have coffee, and that'll be really interesting because that is with Oscar. He's a Mexican filmmaker living in LA right now, and he's going to be talking about indie production. So I know a few of you here are sort of into the fiction side of realm of things, and so anyways, he'll be talking about what it's like toughing it out in LA and making films. And then we have Mika Ronkanen. He's a Finnish filmmaker, and he just arrived last night, and he's going to be doing a workshop about the 3 feature films that he made. And also, his last feature film, which is playing on Sunday night at 9, he also transformed it into a theatrical production, which is pretty cool. And he's also the founder of the World Air Guitar Championships. And so we're going to hopefully show a little bit of that tonight at the Shag. And if anybody wants to try it out, also, yeah, I think that's great. Anyway, so check out the schedule, come and see as many films as you can, and take it away, Frederick.
Sure, thank you. So I just want to point out that this is my first experience going to a film festival outside of my community and seeing one of my films. I've had opportunities in the past, but I'm as many people here, I'm usually shooting something somewhere in the world. So this is a really unique opportunity for me, and they offered me the chance to come and talk about what I do, and I was like, I would love to. That'd be a huge honor. And if you guys were at the last presentation, that was incredibly well organized, very well done. Mine is much more informal. I'm also going to talk about what I do. So please jump in with any questions or hell, any comments that you guys have, just to generate a conversation about the landscape of adventure filmmaking. How many people here are filmmakers? Okay, so everybody pretty much is a filmmaker here. Okay, cool. I'm sure you guys can relate to what I do, and probably do exactly what I do in many ways. So when they asked me to come, the first thing I sort of asked myself is what exactly is an adventure filmmaking? I was on Vancouver Island 24 hours ago working on another doc with a Vice reporter, and he was like, "You're teaching an adventure filmmaking course? What are you doing?" And I was like, "That's a good question." I just thought it'd be fun to ask people here, what do you guys think adventure filmmaking is? Because you guys obviously took time out of your day to come here. So I'm curious. Does anybody want to throw out? What do you think that term means?
I would think it's sort of an extreme situation, whether there's lots of physical action going on, or you're in bizarre environments that are not really sort of controlled. I would say it's out of your control, and you're working with what you have.
That sort of sounds like documentary filmmaking. You know, that's
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody else have anybody else done adventure filmmaking?
Is it like Indianapolis Jones?
Indianapolis Jones.
Yeah.
What's that?
Indiana Jones.
Oh, I guess that was more of a like sort of feature narrative, but yeah, I was kind of confused by the so I was trying to think about it, and like for me the scary, and I've done a bunch of sort of extreme sports kind of things, but the scariest thing I did was last summer I filmed through customs, and I
Wow.
got a bunch of spy cameras. And I thought, I should call somebody at security in the airport, not mine, somewhere else. Just what could happen if I'm caught? It turns out it's like high treason. Like treason, getting caught. And I was like, I needed the shot, so I did it. And I'm like, I filmed coke deals in Peru. We scuba dived with sharks. And nothing was scary as walking through customs in Edmonton. So I think adventure filmmaking is something that means many different things. And that's why I think I'm kind of an adventure filmmaker, because I like doing things that are exciting, but I don't think it necessarily means traveling to a foreign country or doing an extreme sport. I think it could just be taking a risk, regardless what kind of risk it is, and working in disability, we take a lot of risks, and so it's all kind of adventurous. I also have a lot of clips I'd love to show you guys. Some of this stuff has never been seen before, or is coming out soon, so that'd be kind of cool. And it also made me think about the idea of, like, anybody can go anywhere, like, film something with their cell phone. Like, my friend's going for a hot air balloon ride, they film themselves with a cell phone. Are they an adventure filmmaker? Like, I don't know. And I was sort of thinking about that, and part of me thinks, yeah, sure, that's kind of filmmaking, but another part is like, no, what we do is often, like, quite a bit more structured and way harder to do. And sorry if I'm repeating some of the stuff that the presentation before this talked about, but I just want to talk about sort of, like, my personal, the way I approach what I do. And I call it, I'm just making these terms up, this is just my thing, but I call it like a story-focused approach. And I have a lot of friends who are filmmakers who like to take a character approach. Some people like to focus on an event. Some people just focus on straight journalism. Some of my friends are activists. Some just want to make visually stunning films. But I tend to focus on story, which again sounds like kind of a silly term, because everything is a story, right? But like not all stories are awesome, and I only like awesome stories, And so specifically when I say story, I'm always about having some kind of sympathetic character who has a transformative experience as they work toward their emotional and physical goals. Does that make sense? It's not really a good story to me unless there's like something, hopefully a person, but it could be anything, that has a transformative experience. So as an audience member, I want to feel like there's a payoff at the end. And so it really works with adventure, because usually there's some sort of goal, something difficult to achieve. And when you do it, hopefully, everybody's different at the end. And it's satisfying, hopefully. The thing, I guess, that makes me probably not unique, you probably all hear similar to this, is I've got very much a one-man band approach to filmmaking. I literally do all the different positions, so director, producer, writer, cameraman, editor, and I'm sure, who else here does that? Who else does everything on the film? Once again, everybody here does everything, so I'm preaching to the choir. I do have quite a bit of like technical experience, and I was hoping to chat with you guys about some of the different technical things, I do when I'm working. It's not the optimal way to do things, because being a master of all skills often means you're also a master of no skills. And so I consider myself an emerging filmmaker. I haven't made a properly funded feature yet. I'm just working on that right now. I've done a lot of shorts. And I'm hoping to get into more having one person to shoot, one person edit, and all this kind of stuff. But for adventure stuff, like, I think it's pretty awesome to just be your own filmmaker. Own your own gear, go out there and do it. And it can be pretty simple. But you gotta have skills. And that's the trick to being a one-man band, is you gotta develop all these skills. And it's cool, because if you have all these skills, you can make money as a camera guy or as an editor while you're working on your own film. So last summer, somebody hired me to spend a month traveling through the Rocky Mountains, filming for them as a cameraman, and it paid really, really well. Thanks, Brandy. And and we did things like we went caving with cameras. We went whitewater rafting, horseback trails in the mountains, and it was all about immigrants to Canada who don't understand camping. People from the countries that would come and go camping in high-heeled shoes, and it was sort of like this. This is how you camp in the Rockies, and it was incredibly adventuresome. And so once you start getting these skills, I think it's a great way to make money and hone your skills as well, as probably all of you. Is everybody here a full-time filmmaker, part-time? What do you guys ask? Part-time?
I'm usually full-time, well, I shouldn't say full-time, this summer, that sounds silly, but I'm a student though, so
Student, yeah.
So, because I'm a filmmaker first, but I went back to school to expand my multimedia, my media skills, so once school's done, I'll probably, hopefully be a
Full-time?
filmmaker.
It's tricky, but if you got skills, then you can actually pay the rent. It's really hard sometimes. So in terms of my shooting, I started with a Hyatt camera, and I moved to HDV, then I moved to EX1, then a Canon DSLR, then a Canon C100, now I got like a GH4 and an FS7. Is everybody following that one? Everybody, I love the FS7. It's one of my best friends. That sense. And so it's awesome to travel with that. I've got this mic, I got a bunch of these, throw them in a backpack, a laptop, a stack of release forms, and I can be anywhere in the world in 18 hours filming a documentary, which sometimes people need. It's a good skill set. So I thought I would be just talk about who I am for a while. I just came back from Vancouver Island. I was there like 24 hours ago, so I guess I'm frazzled. I haven't really slept yet.
Where?
I was on Vancouver Island working on
Vancouver.
Uh,
Sorry. Yes.
development on a documentary and flew all night. I went to film school in the late 90s in Concordia in Montreal. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but my teacher was Dan Cross, who's at I Steal Films. And one of the students in the class was Young Chang, one of Canada's top documentary filmmakers who did up to Yangtze. My cousin is a filmmaker out of Amsterdam and LA with Carino. They did the feature film Devil's Double on Netflix. And I got my start. I finished film school and said, well, I'll go back to Edmonton and I'll start a production company. It'll be so awesome. And then I volunteered in community TV for a couple of years where they paid me in like food. And it was really hard because I had to work a full-time job while working in community TV. And then eventually I got a chance to be like a cameraman and then a reporter and then a host. And then I really started taking advantage of it and started like having my own TV shows. Just doing stuff with snowboarding show. Like snowboarding. Did all this kind of stuff. And then I went on to work in a show called Help TV, which was on Access, I think broadcast in Ontario. It's like a daytime, afternoon kind of show. And then recently I worked at CTV in Edmonton, where I did thousands of stories that covered adventurous things like river surfing or skijoring, hot air balloon racing, biplanes, dog sledding. If something interesting happened in Alberta, it was basically my job to go and do it. And I basically made 5-minute little documentaries every 2 days. That's what I did for 5 years. It's a great job. Thanks, Rod. And the thing that I did while I was at CTV for 5 years is every bit of vacation that I had, I would work with non-for-profits. And I would travel with them to Africa or Honduras or somewhere and basically, for free, film things for them. And it basically allowed me to build up a bit of a reputation, a skill set, and really is what started me off as a sort of adventure filmmaker. And it also made me feel good because you're sort of doing a good thing in your community. So I can't say enough about working for non-for-profits if you have some skill sets in filmmaking. And then I started my own production company, Open Sky Pictures, less than 3 years ago, hence I call myself emerging. And I got a partner, Kurt, in Toronto, who's sort of a writer, and my wife, who's now a full-time filmmaker. We got engaged while scuba diving, so we're adventurous. And I've been like hungrily taking every class I possibly can. So I just did the NSI Producers class in Winnipeg a few weeks ago, which was totally awesome. Which is why I like the class we just had, because producing is like the hardest thing about all of this. It's insanely difficult. And I'm really trying to learn it. And I learned a really good lesson after a week, and it was like 10 hours a day for 5 days straight. And I was always pushing this, like, I'm an artist, I'm creative, producing is lame. And we went for beers at the end, and then like the teacher called me out and was like, "What are you talking about? You know, do you not think like John Lennon or Paul McCartney were business guys first? Like, look at Michelangelo. Do you think he wasn't a business guy?" And then it sort of dawned on me as a Canadian artist, if I'm not a business guy, if I don't understand these things or have a rich uncle, nobody will ever see my work. And so it's sort of this revelation that I'm having right now about producing. As a Canadian, we probably need to learn the basics of producing until we have somebody to produce for us. I know a lot of filmmakers who produce their own stuff, and it's a really important skill set. So why don't I show a clip of something? So I was just in Haida Gwaii in March, and we filmed a CBC digital short. I recommend everybody here apply for them. It was a totally awesome experience. CBC was great. And they're right now looking for Indigenous pitches until the end of the month. And so this is just kind of a fun example of something that happened as an adventure filmmaker. So this is what a day in the life of an adventure filmmaker is. Oh, no. Wait. Is there audio?
There should be.
The audio can-
Maybe I turned it down. It's here.
Okay, yeah, you can crank it up a bit, I think. Turn it up for a bit.
Okay, so let's start looking at the list of equipment capabilities on this shoot. First we had a drone, which decided to auto return
Is that as loud as it goes?
It's GoPro, I guess, eh?
Pardon?
Yeah.
No, that should sound pretty clean.
Or maybe I just have this.
Sounds overmodulated.
The drone obviously hit something and it stopped transmitting to us. We were speed, I don't know, a couple kilometers away. And so we had to go into a jungle swamp and hunt for a drone for hours. Now, if you watch this footage, you can see my wife Rebecca walk by the drone. It's sitting up on a tree, and the neighbor had a she walks by. And then about half an hour later, I actually managed to see the blinking GoPro dot in the tree and find it and recover the camera. And I can't believe it still works. So that was a very close call. So if you're going to take a drone to do some photography in Haida Gwaii, don't fly it behind a mountain. Do not do that. Always maintain eye contact with the camera.
I found you! So a lot of lessons were learned on that trip. One of them is, like, make sure you have insurance. It's a real important one. Luckily, I did get full production insurance. So we destroyed an FS7, which was $12,000. We destroyed my drone and a DJI Ronin, which was another $3,000. And that was just lousy flying a drone. It was tricky. But everything else was saltwater damage, which I'd never done, and that was pretty heartbreaking. But I brought a spare camera, so I was able to finish the shoot, thankfully. And insurance paid for everything. I was really depressed, and then insurance just bought me everything. It turns out insurance can work. And be careful with drones. Super careful. So some of the stuff that I've done, about 5 years ago when I started working for NGOs, I made a documentary called Journeys of Hope, which was grassroots Canadian people raising money for schools in Kenya. So I shot that in Kenya for a few weeks. I did some work in Honduras on NGOs working there. I made a documentary in Peru about music. And then we won the first ever Bravo Factual, and we were the only guys, I guess, west of Ontario that won it. And we won it for a documentary about prairie wrestling. And that was sort of what firmly entrenched me in this idea of I want to be a filmmaker. Because I did all this while still working a full-time job, and it was really, really difficult to do. And at that point in time, I found out that you guys don't have telescrants here, do you? That's more like, it's so awesome.